In today's topic is joints. Joints means the region where two or more bones meet. As we know, we can do movement. You try to move your hand, you can feel it moves only through your elbow, not in the middle. You can move your hand around your wrist. You can do movement with your finger where there are some joints where bones are meeting. This is importance of joint. They help us to move. You try to look to your right. You moved your neck. Now you try to look to your right. Again you moved your neck. Try to look at the ceiling, the fan. Try to look at your floor. You are moving. It's possible only due to presence of joints in our body. Some joints in our body are movable, like we have done lots of activity here. We are moving. It's only by help of the joints. And some joints are fixed or immovable joints, like joints in our skull. Further, movable joints there are many types according to their movement. Hinge joint, ball and socket, pivot, and gliding. Those which are fixed joint, they all are fixed. Hinge joint. Hinge joint are the like hinges of the door that can move in one direction only. We all have doors in our home. There you will find that metal one where it is supported, it is attached to the frame of the door, isn't it? That is a hinge. If you try to move your door, it moves only up to a certain point in one direction only. You can't go beyond that. That kind of joint is here. That is hinge joint. Elbow joint. Keep your arm straight. Try to bring your hand towards your face. We can do it, but if you try to move your hand towards your back, keeping your arm straight, it's not possible, because that joint allows you movement only in one direction. Such joint is your elbow and knee joint. Ball and socket joint. As the name suggests, there is ball and a socket. There is one round shaped ball, or the end is rounded, which is fixed into some socket, some cup which holds it. That is a ball and socket joint. In this joint, a ball shaped bone fixes into a cup like cavity which allows the movement in any direction. Example is your shoulder joint. In your school, when we were in school last session, you were doing yoga classes. Shoulder exercises children love to do. What you do? You put your hand on your thumb on your shoulder and you try to move it clockwise, anti-clockwise. Don't you do? That means this can move in all the directions. This is your ball and socket joint. An example is shoulder joint and hip joint. Hinge joint, elbow and knees, ball and socket joint, hips and shoulder. Here you can see the movement also. Ball and socket, it can move round, and hinge joint only in one direction. Next is pivot joint. This joint is present between the first vertebra. We have done vertebral column, and the first vertebra, that first bone of the vertebral column is atlas. That ends into a peg-like structure which supports the skull. It also allows us rotation movement like that of ball and socket joint, but it is present only here, which connects skull and the vertebral column. In the picture you can see this is a pivot joint. Next is gliding joint. The gliding joints, they allow the sliding movement. They are not going beyond that, and it is in the flat bones. Like our backbone, it's made up of many vertebrae, small bones which are stacked over one another. They are flat bones. It allows the sliding movement at the meeting point of two bones, and otherwise they cannot move around or round the clock or any like ball and socket type. they just glide or slide on each other. Examples: joints of backbone, wrist and fingers. For all these, you read your book, page number 19, and try to understand it by reading twice and thrice, and try to move your hand. Activity is all move your body parts that way. All the activities that I'm telling you, you move your elbow, move your shoulder, do the shoulder exercise. This way you can feel the movement of different joints in our body. Here, A part. Immovable joint in the skull, they are fixed joint. They are not moving, they are fixed. B part, joints with limited movement like that of our spine or vertebral column. They are limited movement. They are sliding or gliding joints. Third is movable joint, very commonly in our elbow, hand, fingers. And movable joint, hip joint, and which is the ball and socket type of joint. One more example of ball and socket joint is shoulder joint. Now we come to fixed joint. As the name suggests, they are fixed. They are at one place. They are not moving at all. Such joints are fixed joint. Means there is no movement of bones in fixed joint. Example, joints in our skull. Our skull is made up of 22 bones and all of them are making or joined with each other by fixed joint, and one exception is there. Means one is not fixed joint. That is the lower jaw. The joint that connect lower jaw to the skull, it is not fixed, it is movable joint. And due to its movement, only then we can eat and talk. Now we know about different type of joint. We know bones are attached to one another, and the tissue that connect one bone to another, it's called the ligament. Other than ligament, something else which supports the movement are the tendon. They are strong fibrous tissue, connective tissue means which connect muscles to the bone. Only then we can move, run, walk, sit, kick, stand. It's all possible due to presence of ligaments and tendons along with our joints. That's all for today.